my arms. I know you said your goodbye. Let me without the crack of my. How can I go and do without you? You took the heart that once was my heart. So why not take all of me? Left me without the glass of mine. How can I go and do without you? You took the heart that once was my heart. So why not take all of me? Ah, way to go, sweetheart. Now what?
I'm all over the place.
guests, family. We have retirees and guests, and of course, fellow employees. If you were in the office, if you had been, those of you who are visitors, if you had been in the office the last few days, you just would have been overwhelmed by the congratulatory notes and flowers and festivities that have been taking place. There's a common thread that runs through people like Elsie and Eleanor and Ken. They're people. If there's one thing, they're supportive of all of us. Elsie I've known and Eleanor for 20 years, and Kenny for probably somewhere between 10 and 15. I don't think in those 20 years any one of the three ever let me down. And I don't think they left any of our other fellow employees out. You can go back to payroll with Eleanor, and they're very different in personality. Eleanor likes to and Eleanor, she likes to grouse. Eleanor anticipates somebody stepping on her foot. Elsie, you step on her foot, and she probably would say, "Excuse me." And Kenny, he's somewhere in the middle. Kenny just give you a good push and say, "Don't do that again." You'll all have a chance if you'd like to say something later. We'll proceed with, I'd like to recognize some of our guests, the families. Eleanor's daughters, Lenore, would you just stand up for a second? Oh, they had to go back to, oh, here they come. They have tiny bladders in the Fachner family. Oh, and by the way, this Fachner is a fake name. She's really Italian, believe me. I can't pronounce her name, or I would. Charlene, would you stand for just a moment? Another daughter of you are standing. Daughter of Eleanor's, Joanne, and we all know, and Barbara. Barbara, Chipatelli. The Gasparis, Elsie's husband Eddie is here. We all know Eddie. He's been to so many of our parties. Nobody knows Debbie Fernando, Gaspari. Welcome back, Debbie. Nice to see you. Kenny allowed his wife out today. I know so many in the accounting and personnel departments probably don't know Kathy Hesher, but Kathy, would you stand for just a minute so that we can all see you with a beautiful eye? Kathy had the good taste to wear black today. Kathy and my wife drove through it. They looked like a couple of Bobbsey twins sitting on the bed. There's a large group of retirees here. I'm going to ask all of them, just so we have to move this along, we don't want to pay overtime. So that if all of the retirees would just stand for a moment and we give them all a big hand. We thank them for coming. We have an old friend here, a guest. When Dennis Gibbons was studying for his law degree, Freddie Annie had the good sense of hiring him. He worked for us for, he tells me, at least 7 years. He did yeoman's work. Many of you here remember Dennis. Would you stand for just a minute? Dennis is now, if I didn't mention, he is an attorney with Wells Fargo Bank. Yes. Did I say correct? It should have gone the other way, but it didn't. We have another guest. Many of, as I said earlier, many of the districts or branches sent flowers. Phoenix had a better idea. The gang in Phoenix sent Cynthia Good. And I just think that's outstanding. Please stand, Cynthia. For those don't know Cynthia, she is, we'll call her Friday. Years ago, you could call a girl Friday. She is the girl Friday in Phoenix. She keeps them all on her toes, and one of our fine collection personnel. We're very proud of her, and thanks so much for coming. I'd like to tell you just a little bit. I'm going to talk to Elsie and to Eleanor, and Phil will have some things to say, good and bad, about Kenny. We don't promise that all of this is good. I'd just like to tell you a little bit about Elsie. Elsie was born, as I understand it, in San Francisco. For some reason, I thought she was born in McCallum Hill, but she is from San Francisco. Elsie attended, she's a roaring 20 girl. She attended Galileo High School, graduated from Galileo High School, and went to work for a real estate agent for a short period of time here in San Francisco, and worked for over 10 years for the Navy Department as a fiscal accounting clerk. Freddie Annie had the good sense of hiring Elsie in July of 1966. Elsie came to us as an accounts receivable clerk, was a great collector. Elsie has worked for us in accounts payable and general accounting functions, and she really found her own when she got into personnel, and particularly in the area of equal opportunity, and which was so sensitive. Many of you younger people don't realize the way it was in the 50s and the 40s and the 30s. But during the late 60s and the 70s, things changed, and Elsie was a trailblazer. She was one of our first managers. She had a heart as big as gold, and was very helpful to young people who were trying to make changes in our social system of God. Elsie would have retired normally in the fall of this year. She had an opportunity to sort of just wean her way out of it. I'm sure she's going to be very happy. When Eddie retired, I was at his party, and he was worried about honeydew. I think we're back to honey-doo-doo. I'd like to talk about Eleanor for a few minutes. Is there anyone here that thinks that Eleanor was not born in Brooklyn? She's done a beautiful job of disguising that Brooklyn accent. For those who are born in the East, they've all heard of Bushwick, and Eleanor graduated from Bushwick High School. I mean, that's really Brooklyn. I mean, Brooklyn's a wonderful place. It isn't all like all the stories we hear, many of them are phony. It's probably the biggest bedroom community in the world. It has over 2 million people just living and usually working, hoping they can work someplace else just to get away from it. Eleanor went to work for the city of New York. She got some of her bad habits there. And she worked for the Department of Transportation of the city of New York. That's tough duty. Eleanor can, and probably will, share some of the stories of when she worked there and what the salaries were. When Eleanor came west, she went to work for the Columbus Street Garage as a bookkeeper, and after they went bankrupt, she came... Freddie Annie hired her. I mean, Fred is really a winner. They're all over this place. They come out of the woodwork. But anyway, Fred hired Eleanor, and Eleanor went into payroll. And for any of you who have worked for any company, and particularly a construction company that stretches from the North Pole to the Mexican border, you know how difficult it is to move time tickets and checks to people in a timely manner. Eleanor never failed. I was talking with Bob Chernis earlier. I said, Eleanor, you were never numbers to Eleanor. You were always people with children who had to make rent payments, who had Christmas Eve and had to buy gifts. And if it took that, Eleanor was here at 1 o'clock in the morning to get those checks out. I can remember past Christmas parties when Phil used to have to move the party along to get the payroll department back. Computers had changed all of that. Now we're late, and we blame it on the computer. Eleanor, finally, when the computer replaced all of the detail and the very, very detailed payroll functions, why Eleanor worked in taxes and worked as in general accounting, and in most recent years has been the social director of our department. These two ladies have been social directors and performed their work functions for the past 20 years. We've all had loads of fun. I don't have to remind anyone of I wish some of the old timers were here like Lena, but the Columbus Day parties, the Irish, the St. Patrick's Day parties. They never discriminated against Irish, a little against Germans, but not much against Irish. They had 4th of July parties out in the yard. The Christmas parties ran smooth, and we've always been just so proud. Some of you young people are going to have to step in and fill the breach. It's a tradition. I know that Phil, even though Phil only has a short time to go, it's a tradition though that he would, I'm sure, want to come back to. It's a tradition that whoever replaces Phil, I hope will want to keep going. It's just been great. And so we'll look forward to some of you young people stepping forward. We'll also have our consultants, and they'll help us along the way. At this time, I would like to introduce Don Vidal. Is there anyone here that doesn't know Don Vidal? Don isn't from Brooklyn, but he took courses. Don has been studying for the past 20 years under the tutelage of Eleanor, and she's done a pretty good job. Don has some presentations he'd like to make, and Don, would you like to come over here, or do you want to handle it from there?
Well, the first thing, this is the nice part. The first thing is that we got a little letter from Mark Jacobs, who's our in-house, he's our attorney that represents us in all our public liability cases. And Marv says, I guess one of the pleasures of retirement must be the prospect of our having to deal with lawyers, not having to deal with lawyers and litigation answers. I want you to know you've been missed, and not just because misery loves company. The times you provided the support I needed, often under tense circumstances, were always appreciated and will be remembered. When you look back on so many lawsuits over so many years, I hope you'll take well-deserved pride in having accomplished something important for a super company and a grateful lawyer. I'll be thinking of you. Good luck and best wishes. Now, Eleanor, on your behalf, I have criticized him. I told him, you've got to have originality. The letters are said Elsie Gaspari and Eleanor Fachner, so you both got the same kind of a letters. Okay? Now, Elsie, I want you to realize. Speak up, Don. Oh, you can't hear me? I want you to realize, Elsie, that on one half I've been true to form. I don't have anything for you, which is gifts. But for Eleanor, she has done something to me that goes against the grain. So I have a gift, and after me, Lino has a little gift for her. And these are two guys that have never given gifts for anything. So I'd like you to open this, Eleanor. This is something for you, and I know you like to read. I know you like to read, and I know that nice time when you want to be stimulated. I have something for you. Open that, please. everybody understands that Eleanor, for years, as long as I can remember, has stated that this company has aged her. She has made many statements about the demands made upon her, stress, the nights she worked. She don't forget about the overtime, she doesn't mention that. But all these things are attributed to her demise. I can't think of a better word. I have a little something here for you. No, I have something here which you will appreciate because this is what you did to me. This is before.
It's a battery for hearing aid. This gift here is from all of us, from everyone. There are so many people who contributed that aren't here. They'll be mentioned. You'll get a card, and we'll mention everyone who participated in this. But we'd like Eleanor to open this now, and then we'll pass it around because I think you'd all like to see it. This is a plaque, something that Eleanor can hang on the back of her bathroom door. And I'd like to read this. It's a little difficult off the line. It says, Eleanor Fachner, Otis Elevator Company, lifetime party consultant. For 22 years of organizing Christmas parties, 4th of July parties, luncheons and birthdays, constantly talking and nagging in an effort to achieve perfection, in recognition of this, we bestow upon you the honorary title of Lifetime Party Consultant. This title requires you to be on constant standby, 24 hours a day, and we reserve the right to call upon your services at any time. We expect your full cooperation because, to quote you, who will do this when I'm gone? Your friends at Otis. This is really beautifully done. I'd like to thank Andy and Terry and David Hackew and Roy who put this together. This is really quite nice. This is something a little more sensible and probably leave some very good memories. One of the reasons for the choice of this gift is for many years she's been grousing that she was afraid something might happen and she might not get this. So it sort of prompted. With Eleanor, we always know what to get. Another gift from your daughter.
Daughters? Oh, daughters.
I asked, I think it was Joanne, what she was going to do now that her mother was retired, and she said she really had figured that out in advance. She bought a one-bedroom house somewhere in the East Bay. But I heard the other day that just before Eleanor, when she knew she was going to retire, she took some swimming courses and got it on the tuition refund program. Eleanor has just one more gift before we introduce Elsie, and that is a, I don't know if it's a round, is it a round trip to, or is it one way? A round trip to Hawaii from her daughter Charlene.
Thank you.
These are from various cards and some, I think it's macadamia nuts. Our group in Hawaii, but we'll take these. Many years ago, Elsie was the champion cake baker for the far western region. Lenore did dethrone her. We used to have a cake, this is before equal opportunity, we used to have a cake for all of the men as our birthdays would approach. Why, Elsie would stay up late the night before, bake a beautiful cake. We had all kinds of jokes through the years. I'd just like to share a few of them. One was the cake that they baked for Don Vidal, and it was sponge rubber. And it looked just like, it just looked perfect. And when Don would try to cut it, when the knife would jump back out, he actually thought Eleanor could make the cake. We also had a lot of fun over cakes, and that was when Elsie was 50 years old, and it just seems like the other day. And we didn't know what to do, so we decided that we would all, there was like maybe say 30 people, decided they would all wrap either frosting or a cake bake into a different size box. And it brought Elsie to tears. It was really funny, and it got a little long, but we took that afternoon off too. So Elsie, we don't want her to forget that. That was very important to all of us, even though we were growing older. And we have a little gift for Elsie that will commemorate that. These really aren't Shreve's boxes. Best & Company is selling out, you know, and we bought all the labels. weeks. Elsie's going to have some time on her hands. Her husband drives a bicycle every morning, or afternoon. I catch him in the afternoon watching girls on the Marina Green, but Elsie's going to have to probably walk. As you know, she has a new, not brand new, but she has a new grandson, and Andrew, and she's going to be spending some time probably walking her grandson. And we have something here that might make you a little more comfortable when you're doing. Found that out this morning. This is something a little more sensible and something that we hope that you enjoy through the years, something that will remind you of us and our affection for you. Something that will help her along with her collection and some time to read in her spare time. Where's Becky? Shall I present this for later? A gift from Becky, and while you're eating these macadamia nuts, while you can open up the rest.
You all. I've enjoyed working with all of you.
Somebody just woke Don up. He has another thing to say.
What I would like to say is I'm not the kind of guy that prepares any speeches. I like to operate off the cuff. I want to mention that I'm really going to miss the friendship I've had with Eleanor and Elsie through all these years. And there's two things that I'm going to suffer. One, I'm going to lose my debating partner. And I'm going to lose my English tutor. I mean, those would kept my skills sharp. I'm really going to miss it.
That's the first half is over. I don't have to introduce Phil Brown. Phil's going to say a few words now to Kenny. Phil?
Paul mentioned overtime. My concern is we're all going to get stuck in the commute hour, and everybody's going to want an extra day of vacation. Oh, that's all right. I'd just like to add my comments and congratulations to both Eleanor and Elsie. I think that Eleanor, you did a good job on Don Vidal. Elsie, you flunked. His linguistics still aren't any good. Also sitting between Elsie and Eleanor, this retirement idea is better than what I thought it was going to be, so I've decided I'm going to day 2. And I'm sure not going to go through this up here, I'll tell you. We're going to meet in the parking lot and have a case of Coke, and that's going to be it. Another event, important events taking place. And an event of some significance also took place about 28 years ago. In Los Angeles, we had a really important lot of activity going on with new equipment being installed. And one of our constructors down there named Howard Crooks needed a helper. And so he got a helper from the office. He came out. And after an appropriate amount of time to make an evaluation, Howard Crooks said, "This kid's too skinny and he's never going to amount to anything." And of course, it was Kenny Hessian. And Kenny still doesn't weigh any more than he did then. But Howard was wrong in that Kenny has amounted to a lot. Kenny was a construction mechanic in Los Angeles, worked in the service department down there, came up here, was a field engineer, construction superintendent, and then became the manager of regional field operations in San Francisco. And now he goes on to bigger and better things. He's going to be the director of construction operations in Farmington, reporting to a gentleman by the name of Jack Linegang. And I think most of us in the room know that name because he was the one that started the turnaround in the production end of our business. Really an outstanding guy. Kenny and Jack together, I'm sure, are going to do great things for the Otis Elevator Company. We have some gifts of congratulations for you, Ken, and of course with these go our best wishes. But first of all, I'd like to ask Barbara Morgan to come forward. Barbara, are you here? Wake Barbara up. Barbara is representing the department that Kenny ran so successfully for so many years. And I'd like to add that while Barbara's coming up, that Kenny's successor, Bob Chernus, is in the corner. We welcome you, but you're not here yet officially? Yes or no?
This is a token of our appreciation and friendship for the years that we have worked with you. And we wish you the best in your future endeavors. Got it?
Wait a minute. Should I open this first? Barbara?
Fine. What's that?
I think I wear this. Oh, that's super, huh? Something else I can spill coffee on. That's a little too classy. That's a little too classy for me, Vidal. Huh? This had to be a Don Smith Silverside Chondo gift. Look at that. It has all of these.
Somebody trying to grant.
This happens to fit in an elevator. This is some kind of a... This is a $60 throwaway.
Who's the guy that wired this?
You got it. You got it. No, that's okay. Forget it. Ah.